Hi class, how are you? So today we're going to be talking about the rise of the Persian Empire. So let me get this going. Okay, here we go. The rise of the Persian Empire. All the history of Mesopotamia, as we have been studying, and in the beginning of all these civilizations, it's very hard to keep track of it because countries keep conquering each other. All the time, the territories were changing, there were new rulers, there were new governors, they were conquering this land, then another one came and conquered another land. So the maps kept changing all the time. So it's a little bit hard to keep track of it because all the time, all these city states kept conquering each other to form empires. But we will try to follow up with this. So let's talk about the rise of the Persian Empire. We were talking that Babylon had built thick walls and strong gates that were not able to keep out the new conquerors. Even though they had all these big walls to protect themselves, they were not able to keep the conquerors out. In 539 before Christ, Babylon and the rest of Mesopotamia fell under the control of the powerful Persian Empire. This was a really, really powerful empire at the time. Within a few decades, the Persian Empire became the largest the world had ever seen. You can look here in the map, and we're talking about 500 years before Christ, and look at the size of this empire. It goes all the way. We're going to be talking about this city that I'm pointing out with my cursor, Thrace over here. We have Libya, Egypt, and all the way here into the Indus Valley. And pretty much this is all the Middle East that they conquered. Okay? So it was a very, very large empire. We're going to talk about Cyrus the Great. Persia formed to the east of Mesopotamia in what is now Iran. For years, the Persians had been ruled by their neighbors to the north, a people called the Medes. And remember this name, the Medes used to be the rulers of the Persians. The Medes controlled an empire stretching from what is now Iran northwest across the Sargos Mountains. But in 550 BC, Cyrus the Great led the Persians to victory over the Medes. By conquering the Medes, the Persians won an empire. And here we have the map again of the Persian Empire. Look how huge it was, okay, at that time. And they still hadn't conquered all this area of what is actually now Lebanon, Israel, and Africa. This will come in a little bit. Cyrus dreamed of building an even larger empire. He began in Asia Minor, in what is now Turkey, where he went to war with the kingdom of Lydia. He defeated Lydia's rich king Croesus. Then Cyrus pushed south into Ionia, a region settled by the Greeks. One by one, he conquered Ionia's city-states. That's what I was telling you. They keep conquering all these city-states, new rulers come, then they take over. But for now, we're talking about the conquests of Cyrus the Great. Later, Cyrus expanded Persia's border to the east toward India. At that point, the Persian Empire reached deep into Asia. Look how big it became. From Thrace over here, here's Ionia that we were talking about. So they conquered all of Turkey over here, all this part of Egypt and the north of Libya, all this part over here where is Syria and actual Israel and Lebanon, all of this part over here, which is now Iraq. This was actually Persia. And look how far they came up all the way over here into what is now Afghanistan and all this part of India. So it was a huge empire. Persia's rapid growth was due to its large and highly skilled standing army. A standing army is a permanent army of professional soldiers. So the core of this army was a force of 10,000 elite soldiers known as the Immortals. Okay, let's talk about the conquest of Babylon. Cyrus and the Persian army captured Babylon in 539 BC. I'm all messed up with the numbers today. Under his rule, Babylon grew into the wealthiest province of the Persian Empire. In general, Cyrus was very benevolent because he treated the Babylonians and other people well. He allowed them to keep their own customs and religions rather than forcing them to adopt the Persian ways. For example, when Cyrus conquered Babylon, he allowed the Jewish people to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. So we have here a picture of Cyrus the Great. So he was very kind to his conquered people because he allowed them to keep their ways, to keep their customs, keep their religions, and he even allowed them to go back to their towns and keep going with their traditions. Let's talk about further expansion. So Cyrus died in battle in 530 BC. Finally, I got the date right. But his son, Cambyses II, continued his father's dream of increasing the size of the Persian Empire. First, Cambyses moved his troops into Northeast Africa and conquered Egypt. So here we have an image of how he conquered the Egyptians, okay? And from there, he traveled south to try to capture Kush. But the invasion of Kush was a failure. Cambyses marched the Persian army through the desert with little food or other supplies. So he wasn't very well prepared. He didn't have enough food, he didn't have enough supplies. So this battle turned out to be a complete failure. Soon his men were forced to kill and eat their pack animals. And many Persians died of starvation before Cambyses ended this disastrous invasion. Here we have the area of the Kush Empire, and Cambyses couldn't do anything about it because he was very ill prepared for this battle. So he lost that battle. After Cambyses died, Darius took the throne by force. Under his rule, Persia grew even larger, and Darius became known as Darius the Great. He extended Persian rule east to the Indus Valley. In the west, the army defeated Thrace, which was the first Persian victory in Europe. But later campaigns against Greece ended in Persians' defeat at the Battle of Marathon. Okay, so this is about the rise of the Persian Empire. We've been through three major rulers, Cyrus the Great, Cambyses, and Darius the Great. And look at the empire that Darius was able to conquer. Then again, all the way here from Europe to the Indus Valley to the north of Africa. And we will continue talking about this topic because there is a lot more to see. And the next thing that we're going to be talking about is going to be the kind of Persian government and religion. So I will see you guys on the next video class, and we will continue with this topic. Have a good day, and thanks for watching.